Hello everyone, Drake Robinson here, and I'm sorry, I saw this pop up on my news feed, and I just had to talk about it because it just, I've ranted about how just how sad the sad decline of the WWE in this modern era we live in today. I grew up, I'm a early 2000s baby, so I grew up like roughly around like the mid to late 2000s to the 2010s and stuff like that. And WWE was not nearly as bad as it was nowadays. You had some slow points around that time, but they were never like the good always outweighed the bad. You know, I like. But anyway, what Triple H said, he was on with Stephen A. Smith, his ESPN guy, and he was talking about how the fans take WWE too seriously, and etc. And I have no doubt that some of these some of the people in the modern WWE audience absolutely takes it way too seriously, are way too brainwashed and by this modern world to know just that they're tuning in to and watching the garbage that they're watching. I don't watch WWE anymore. I just, I pick up on little stuff here and there. Shout out to Fall Wrestling and Wrestle Mafia and all these other actual fans, old school fans who call the product out for what, from the garbage it is today and doesn't, shill for it. Because the only way you can still be watching this product is to, and have anything positive really to say about it, is if you're shilling or you're getting paid or, you know, yeah, you just want access to the WWE superstars and stuff like that. And it's pathetic, but hey, you make your money somehow, I guess, in this influencer culture. I'm rambling, I apologize, but I just don't know where to go, where to start with it, because this is like, okay, Triple H says that, okay, the fans take it too seriously. And like I say, I have no doubt some of these, some of these, weirdos out here definitely do take it too seriously. But at the same time, so does TKO and, this greedy company, that took over WWE essentially. And with the sponsor logos and stuff like that, and all over the ring. Like, why is that there? That's never been there. WWE has always had sponsors, but they would read the sponsors out. I remember they used to read the sponsors out loud, like during the entrance of a wrestler or something like that. Back in the day, back when it was done right, the correct way. Now every day is fucking splattered with sponsor logos and stuff. Like Vince McMahon would have never allowed that ever. Yeah, but of course Triple H being for another thing I got rant on. It just is so amazing to me how someone who grew up in a time period where wrestling was actually fun, was actually cool, was actually you did not want to miss the Attitude Era, like Triple H can get into power and all of a sudden everything goes straight to hell. I remember when Triple H used to be the Blue Pillar savior to a lot of people, in the IWC, YWC. Uh, he, people were propping him up as the second coming of Christ, and even I was saying back then, well, I mean, all I'm seeing really is a bunch of high flying dudes. I don't really see guys who, look like Triple H. I don't see stars. I see a bunch of indie, ramen noodle eating, scrawny to the bone, bunch of dorks essentially. And Triple H brought all those, once he got into power, brought all those losers in, and now we're stuck with the flippy kicky guys and no actual stars. Like, we had high flyers in the Attitude Era, etc. But they were, guys like Rey Mysterio and stuff like that. But those guys integrated, into what those guys integrated at a time period where that stuff, yeah, was cool to see, but it wasn't like the main focus. Like, there's no storytelling in WWE anymore. It's just, who has the best 5-star match, banger after banger after banger. Like, yeah, no. Yeah, y'all remember remember the who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin storyline from back in that way back in the day? That was intriguing because it was good stuff. It didn't rely on fucking banger matches. No, it relied on who was you know who ran over Stone Cold. Obviously, it being Rikishi was a little, was it Triple H? Was it The Rock? Could The Rock be turning heel or something like that? But no, that was an intriguing storyline. Or who was, or what else? There's so many I can't even think. The Ministry of Darkness and all that, like those were good storytelling moments. Stone Cold Steve Austin's heel turn, him aligning with Triple H and Vince McMahon, taking on the Brothers of Destruction. It's just nowadays you don't get stuff like that. It wasn't even about the matches; it was about the storytelling and what was going on. You know, Nowadays everything's just so corporatized, and digitized, and woke, and like the feet. Don't even get me started on the female division. Jesus, that's probably the biggest purveyor of why WWE is going down the crap shoot it's going right now because of the females and them having to be freaking not only on the same level as the guys, but I would say that WWE is propping them up a lot more than they're propping up the guys nowadays. It's the same thing. Like you had females back in the day, women back in the day, who were popular and didn't need everything a guy had. They just needed their presence. It was quality over quantity. Trish Stratus and Lita come to mind. Jazz, Molly Holly, all those people could go, and they did. For what may not be the most they were given, but like I said, quality over quantity. They were given the most, and they weren't given the most, but they still did outshine. Trish Stratus and Lita, I think, main evented a Monday Night Raw once, and it wasn't that bad. Same thing with Lita and Stephanie McMahon, and so like you get what I'm saying. Back in the day, it just like nowadays it's quantity over quality. So how many championships can the females have? How many elimination chamber matches and Money in the Bank matches? Which is can literally everything, a Royal Rumble, literally everything men have, the females have to have, and it's propped up 10 times more. Like, Jesus Christ, I can't with this modern era. I just can't. The progressive, woke era of WWE is literally, it may be the worst era. You have eras, you have the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era, the, the they call it the reality era, I don't know. But nowadays, yeah, we have the woke era. We're living in the woke era, and the woke era sucks. So for Triple H to say that, I'm gonna bring it home right now. For Triple H to sit there and say that the fans take it too seriously, yeah, that's because you brainwash them too, and also the WrestleMania prices. It's impossible. You mean to tell me you don't take yourself too seriously when you're charging thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for WrestleMania prices, ticket prices? A regular everyday, bottom of the totem holder can't afford that. A bunch of rich influencer, people can't afford that, I bet, But, the everyday working class paycheck to paycheck person, they can't afford, those prices. with children who may like the show and may want to go to the show, and I'll never go. I mean, you have to be crazy to actually be excited for anything modern day in WWE, but yeah, I say all that to say that Triple H, you take yourself too seriously, my friend. It's the pot calling the kettle black. You completely, this company is dying, is a sinking ship, and at this point, it just needs to go out of business. Either bring Vince McMahon back or just shut down. A pipe dream, most likely, but hopefully one day. I'm out.